This is a demo of our KDS training and documentation tool, which allows basically any business to create their own business-specific training for any web-based software in a matter of minutes and at a fraction of the cost. So let's get started. I have an activation key. Enter that, and we now have the option to load a lab or create a lab. Select the Load a Lab tab. You will see that we do have some labs that we have created in here for other demonstrations. I'm going to go back and we're going to create a new lab. Now, you can start from a topic or you can start from a document if you have, say, a PDF for whatever web-based software you want to use. You could just upload that right here and create training from it. It's going to create a topic. Some of these options we won't talk about right now for the sake of time, but you can create a series of labs or a single lab. You could create 100 labs if you wanted to, but by default, we're set for a lab series that has 10 labs in it and 4 requirements. But we could say 5 and make that 2 labs if we wanted. For the sake of time, we will just do a single lab. You do have settings which allow you to set your API keys. These enable the AI integrated features, automation functions built into the application. So for the sake of this video, we're going to say, create a new single lab on the following topic. Let's just say 3CX VoIP phone installation. I'm going to scroll down here and it's going to say, create and split the lab series. So what it's going to do is create this lab by going out, scanning for that software's knowledge base, using the latest OpenAI and Gemini models, whichever API key you choose to add. It does also work with an open source Ollama model as well, but you're not going to get as good results in your searches. You'll see it gave me these requirements. So what I'm going to do is I want to create step-by-step instructions for every one of these tasks. So I'm just going to click the format button, and that's how the format is built into it. If you wanted to make any edits to what is in here, you can do that as well. If you just purchase the software, then you would be the one editing and making any lab changes that you need to be made, which means you'll be going through and testing these labs and keeping them updated. If you've hired us as a service, then we would, of course, generate these labs, test them, and make sure they are 100% accurate. Because as we know frequently on the internet, software companies change their products frequently, and their documentation usually is slow to follow after that. So the lab instructions are generated in Markdown. I'm just going to go ahead and export this. This downloads each fully formatted lab document. So if I go back to home and I go to my Load a Lab, you will scroll down here on the bottom and you will see that we have the lab that we just created, installing and configuring a 3CX VoIP phone system. Really quick, while we're on this screen, you do have the ability to go in and say, all right, I don't really want this lab, so I'm just going to delete it. You can delete multiple labs at a time. This is my Monday.com training. Let's make a 3CX training folder just to kind of keep things easily organized. We tried not to overcomplicate this application so anyone could easily use it. So I just grab it and I'll drag it right in there. That makes it a little easier to keep things organized. Now we have 2 groups. Now let's go into our lab. I'll open the lab. There we go. When you open a lab, you'll have 2 windows. You will have a live window on the left. This will take you anywhere you want to go. Completely live web browser. In the admin panel, you do have the ability to block or allow whichever web pages you choose. If you are using Monday.com, then you would go there and log in. If it's Outlook, if it is OpenTable, Fair Harbor, or basically any web-based software that your company uses, you can now create training for it. If you look over here on the right, you have the objective. Go in here and it's going to say, our first requirement is to install the 3CX phone system on Windows. We're going to download the 3CX phone system installation package from the website. And if you expand for steps, it's going to walk you through every step of doing that. And we did this with a click of a button. You also have the link to resources, so you can go to their installation guide and documentation. We do include useful notes, and if there are warnings, it will scan through and give you warnings. You would basically go through this live training on your system to perform the duties that you need to do. When you get to the end, it's going to give you a summary or recap. Look down here and you'll see that there's a knowledge check button. Let's talk about that. If you go up here and click the lock icon, that's your admin panel. Here, you can edit your markdown on the fly. So instead of setup, for example, we'll say teardown. You'll notice those changes made instantaneously. Additionally, let's say you want to add images or screenshots to the lab. We'll just grab one right here. If you want to add it to your lab, it's going to pop it right here into your instructions. So as your learner goes through, maybe there's something you really want them to see, you'll go through here. This is exactly what you see on the right, just in markdown form. In the admin panel, you have this flyout, which allows you to select from these different admin tools. You can require a password, of course, to access the admin panel, which is useful to keep your students out. Make mine 1234. Save that password. You can also replace certain words in here. So if you wanted to change this to your company, you'll see that changes throughout the lab to reflect your branding. You can also add your logo here. We just have a hot dog. There is dark mode. You can set the page that your browser starts on. So say if you wanted it to be monday.com, and then let's say you wanted to block everything but monday.com. That would essentially protect your students from accessing websites that you don't really want them to go to. And then you can send your results of your quiz to whatever email address you choose. There is your lab generator that we were just in. And then if you look over here, you'll see there's a knowledge check. The cool thing about this is if you want, you can just select knowledge check. It's going to scan all of the instructions here that you have reviewed and verified. And then depending on what the number of questions you defined, we had, I think, 5 set. It's going to create a knowledge check at the end. I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to select apply. And now if we go down here on the right, when we get to the last page, there's actually a knowledge check, which automatically generated these questions. So I'll just do some answers in here. I don't think they're right, but I'm just going to say go. I'll hit submit. It's going to ask for your name, and when you submit that, it's going to send and save that quiz. So if an admin or someone wanted verification that someone had completed the training, of course, the proof is in learning the skill, not by watching a video or reading a book. But the really nice thing is once you have created this training, you can actually go here to print. And it's going to say print to PDF. I'll just use the word test to save, replace it. Now, while creating training, I have now also basically created a standard operating procedure that tells me how to do all of those things. It has the images that we added. So you can literally create your PDFs and your own current training. And as steps change, you just come in here and update it. It's much easier than having to refilm a video or republish all of your PDFs. Now you just make your change here, you would reprint, and you are up to date. Home will always take you back to the initial screen.